revealed 7 sinister demonic encounters that haunt the cursed and expose the unexplained terror in the quiet suburb of Maplewood. Beneath the idyllic facade of white picket fences and smiling neighbors, something sinister lurked.
Lila, a weary single mother, clocked her late-night shifts at the cozy diner, the only place where she could scrape by and keep her teenage daughter, Sarah, fed. The streets rang with laughter often, but tonight, the air felt wrong. Shadows stretched longer, flickering under streetlights that seemed to hum a warning. All the seemingly perfect homes were hiding something, and Lila sensed a tremor of dread that cut through her exhaustion. It started with whispers at dusk, neighbors exchanging hushed words that stung like ice. Lila brushed it off, too tired to ponder the peculiarities. But then, the disappearances began, families vanishing without a trace, their homes left to fill with silence. Lila's chest tightened with worry at the thought of Sarah becoming a target in this unsettling game. One late night, returning home, she found an eerie note on her doorstep. 13 families, the guardian of shadows awaits, it read, scribbled in shaky, frantic script. The words sank into her mind like ice. She remembered the local legend, a terrifying tale passed down about a forbidden spirit that demanded sacrifice from those who pried too much into the past. Lila's heart raced. Was Maplewood truly as safe as it appeared? As she scrolled through social media, an impending sense of doom enveloped her. Multiple posts from neighbors detailed growing fears but ended abruptly, words becoming tangled in hopeful reassurances. Too late to find comfort in their false claims, Lila sought help from the police the next day. To her disbelief, they dismissed her worries as simple paranoia, an exhausted mind overthinking. Days blended into harrowing whispers and unsettling moments. Each neighbor felt like a stranger, wearing faces she couldn't recognize. Then, a new town councilman popped up, his charm disguising something unholy. He promised to revitalize the community while ensuring its sacred values. Lila felt a chill down her spine. He was too good to be true. After one such evening, panic tightened its grip as Sarah didn't return from a friend's party. Minutes turned into hours. Lila's trembling hands clutched the phone, desperate calls yielding nothing but dry silence. Shadows danced in the corners, stretching and creeping closer. The walls of their home felt alive, whispering dark secrets. She was being watched. In a frantic search, she stumbled upon a hidden door in the basement. Dust swirled as she pushed it open, revealing an underground chamber strewn with offerings this community had forgotten to remember. Goosebumps rose along her skin. Was this the tribute to the Guardian? Panic swelled in her heart as she ventured in, realizing something ghastly awaited. She stepped through the threshold into darkness, and the air thickened with fear, pressing against her chest. Just then, she faced an apparition, cloaked in shadows and grinning with a knowing grin. The emblem emblazoned across its chest, the Guardian of the Shadows. Lila's blood ran cold as the truth unfolded. Maplewood wasn't an escape, it was a trap. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With her heart thundering, Lila realized she was ensnared in a dark design, one that could seal her daughter's fate. The laughter of the remaining neighbors echoed through the chamber, twisted and mocking faces once familiar now contorted into something unrecognizable. She had to find Sarah, before she too became just another shadow haunting Maplewood, forever lost to the insatiable darkness. Time was slipping away, a darkness loomed, and the stakes rose with each chilling laugh. Would she face the Guardian of Shadows or lose everything she held dear to the very thing she had once thought was a simple neighborhood? Lila's breath quickened, each inhale choking on the suffocating air thick with dread. The chamber pulsated with unnatural energy, a sinister echo of the past that clawed at her sanity. Shadows twisted and swirled around her, whispering unholy secrets she didn't want to hear. They crawled across the walls like dark tendrils reaching for something more, something alive. Her mind raced, battling between the overwhelming urge to flee and the desperate need to free Sarah. Find her, a soft voice seeped through the gloom, the sound wrapping around her like a noose. She whipped around, But the apparition's gaze pulled her back, its eyes a void, yet somehow, they sparked with a malevolent understanding.
Leave.
It was all she could muster. But deep inside, she knew escaping was futile.
Maplewood was alive with darkness.
She had been living in its grip, blind to the lurking evil that had woven itself through her life. Her legs transformed into lead as she pushed forward into the abyss, every instinct screaming to turn back.
The walls seemed to pulse, as if they were holding their breath, waiting.
Lila's skin prickled as she navigated through the musty chamber, a tapestry of old dreams and horrors strung across the cobwebbed corners. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of despair urging her to turn back, to surrender to fate.
Sarah!
She called out, her voice echoing in the dark.
Was that a sound? A distant whisper in return?
The chamber shifted, as if reacting to her plea. The flicker of dim light cast twisted shadows against the floor, drawing her to an old altar at the far end.
It was too familiar.
This is it, she whispered to herself, shaking. A horrific realization dawned. The offerings were left in desperation, sacrifices made to appease the guardian that had claimed so many. Cold sweat trickled down her spine as she fumbled in her pocket for her phone, the weak light little comfort.
But its presence was enough to incite a gnawing fear. What if it failed her?
All around, the air crackled, thumping in synchrony with her racing heart. Her fingers trembled as she turned the light toward the altar.
Sarah?
She choked out again, the reality of her daughter's absence clawing deeper into her chest. With every moment, every breath, the shadows around Lila danced with glee, savoring her desperation. Then she heard it, a soft, echoing sigh that wrapped around her like a chilling embrace.
Mom, was faint, curling through the darkness, probing at her resolve. Help me, where are you?
Lila cried, startled tears spilling from her eyes. She felt a cold hand gripping her heart, holding it hostage while unholy glee erupted from the shadows.
I'm coming.
The apparition stepped closer, its grin broadening, revealing jagged teeth that gleamed with malice. The guardian waits, it hissed, every syllable dripping with a suffocating dread. A vision flashed before her, Sarah, trapped in an endless nightmare, begging for her mother's strength.
Lila's instincts took hold, igniting a fierce determination.
She recalled the boldness of those gone before her. Somewhere, hidden beneath the layers of betrayal and despair, lay a way to break the cycle.
Show me,
she demanded, feeling raw desperation fuel her words.
Show me the way to her. The shadows shifted, a path emerging amidst the chaos.
But before she could move, the malevolent laughter enveloped her like a thick fog.
You seek to save her, but the guardian awaits his due. Will you sacrifice for your child?
The question sank into her marrow.
Sacrifice? What would she give?
That moment teetered on a knife's edge, the oppressive darkness swelling around her as she began to understand. The true sacrifice was not just her life, it was something far worse.
Would she gamble everything for Sarah? Would she step further into the depths of Maplewood's horror, knowing it could cost her far more than she'd ever imagined? With a final shuddering breath, Lila took a step forward, but what lay ahead would put every ounce of her being to the test, and the guardian's laughter echoed ominously through the chamber. Your choice is near. What was she willing to face to save her daughter? As thundering footsteps echoed in the darkness, Lila braced herself against the truth she was about to uncover. The moment Lila stepped into the darkness, the air thickened. A jarring chill cascaded over her skin, seeping into her bones like ice.
She felt an unseen weight pressing down, an expectation that curled around her heart, squeezing tightly.
Show me the way,
she shouted, her voice reverberating against the damp stone walls, bouncing back at her in mocking echoes. The shadows loomed larger, dancing hungrily, and she stood poised on the precipice of despair. In that moment, the altar pulsed with sinister energy. Symbols carved deep into the surface glowed faintly, illuminating a path that twisted like a slithering serpent towards the back of the chamber.
Was it a guide to salvation, or a trap forged by the guardian's malevolence?
As she moved closer, whispers rose strident, insistent, fraying at her sanity.
Lila, Lila, the voices twisted her name into a beckoning cry. It felt intimate, laced with despair. Help us save her, Sarah. Lila cried out again, each syllable an act of desperation.
The darkness writhed, and for a fleeting second, she could almost see her daughter's face hovering just on the edge of the light, eyes wide and pleading. With a surge of hope, she reached out. Suddenly, the shadows coalesced into a form, a distorted silhouette that loomed over her, malign and viscous. It was the essence of all her worst fears, a swirling mass of anguish and sorrow. The apparition lunged, and she staggered back, heart racing, mind screaming for release.
"What do you want?" Lila's voice trembled.
Sacrifice. The whisper slithered around her, resonating like a taunt. "What will you trade to save your child?" In an instant, memories of Sarah flooded her mind, the laughter, the joyful hum of a girl who danced through life with innocence.
Was this what the Guardian wanted? To shatter that happiness?
The air felt electric as she realized the truth. It wasn't just her own life at stake. It was everything she ever held dear. The shadows leaned closer, wrapping around her like a blanket of freezing fog.
"You must choose. His hunger is insatiable. Enough." With a sudden shift in resolve, Lila's voice sliced through the murk.
"I won't let fear control me.
I will not be your pawn."
And yet, even as the words left her mouth, doubt crept in.
What if her defiance was the catalyst for something darker? What if the Guardian was watching, waiting for her weakness to reveal itself?
The altar blazed suddenly with a feral light, the symbols glowing brighter, burning into her eyes. "Bring forth a sacrifice," the voice boomed, ancient and deep, reverberating through her very soul.
"Your daughter's life, or your own." Each word sent tremors through her body.
The revelation twisted in her gut. She was trapped in a web of horror spun out of the very fabric of Maplewood. Something sinister was unfolding, and she could feel the fabric of reality tearing at the seams.
"Mine!"
she screamed, a desperate plea thrust into the nightmarish maw surrounding her.
"Take me. Not her." The sudden silence hung thick, suffocating.
Shadows paused, as if considering her offer, before erupting into a cacophony of laughter that rattled her bones.
"You believe this will spare her?" The apparition's eyes blazed with a ghastly light. "The Guardian's price is far higher than you can imagine."
A piercing howl resonated, reverberating against her ears, and in that moment, she felt the ground beneath her tremble. The shadow shrieked in response, a testament to the chaos that lay ahead.
Lila tightened her hands into fists, heart pounding in her chest. This was no longer just about survival. It was a fight against an evil that sought to consume everything she loved. "Show me the way,"
she shouted again, the desperation in her voice turning to a fierce determination.
"I will face whatever comes next."
But before she could move, the darkness lunged, tendrils reaching out to grasp her, a suffocating grip tightening around her throat. She was whisked away into the depths of Maplewood's torment, the laughter taunting her as she realized, the Guardian's true hunger had only just begun to awaken. Was Lila brave enough
to sacrifice it all to reclaim Sarah?
As she spiraled deeper into the abyss, the shadows promised things that would chill her to the bone.
What awaited her in the heart of darkness?
The shadows closed in around Lila, enveloping her in a blanket of blackness that seemed to swallow every sound, every thought. She gasped for air, her lungs fighting against the icy fingers wrapping tighter around her throat.
Panic surged within her, a primal instinct to fight or flee. But where was she to go in this abyss? "Sarah!"
she cried again, voice cracking, each plea a dagger thrust against the silence. Nothing answered her but the whispers, the relentless, taunting whispers. Suddenly, she found herself standing in a different part of the chamber, the altar now a budget for things unseen, pulsating with raw, fanged energy.
The light from the symbols flickered, almost alive, as if welcoming her back.
Desperation turned into dread as she realized the choices were not just about sacrifice but about who she could trust. A figure emerged from the shadows, an outline cloaked in darkness, with eyes that glimmered like shards of ice.
"You seek your daughter," it said, voice smooth yet dripping with malice. "But in seeking her, you've awakened more than the Guardian. Who are you?"
Lila stammered, pulse quickening.
"What do you want from me?"
"Ah, dear Lila," the specter purred, taking a step closer. "I am a harbinger, a whisperer of truths long buried in this cursed ground.
I know the depths of the Guardian's hunger, and your greatest fear. What do you know?"
She stepped back as fury mixed with fear flooded her veins.
"I won't let you control me." Control?
The figure chuckled, a sound that echoed in her bones.
My dear, it's not about control. It's about choice. You stood at the altar, willing to barter your own life for the life of your child. But could you truly live with that sacrifice? What is one life against the many that the guardian hungers for?
The shadows pulsed around her, as if in agreement. She felt them, cold and clamoring for her soul. Please, she whispered, fighting the urge to recoil. Just tell me what to do. Make the right choice, it said, its icy fingers lifting to point into an unseen distance.
Face the guardian head-on. Offer a sacrifice, yes, but think carefully on what you hold dear. It may not have to be who you think.
Chills cascaded down her spine as she met its gaze, the emptiness seeming somehow familiar.
You mean I don't have to sacrifice, Sarah?
Hope flickered, bright yet fragile.
But what would cost me more than my own life?
Without waiting for an answer, Lila turned and rushed towards the altar, determined to confront whatever lay ahead.
The air thickened, and the intensity surged, a sharp crackle almost suffocating in its weight.
She could feel the guardian awakening, stretching its limbs, hungry for a morsel of fear. The tendrils of shadows began to whip around her again, angry and insistent.
What do you choose?
They hissed.
What will you sacrifice to appease the void? Show me.
She shouted, heart racing.
Show me what I must sacrifice.
In response, the floor beneath her shook, and the cymbals burned with a fire that echoed through her bones. In that moment of chaos, a figure emerged from the darkness, someone she recognized. Her reflection, showing not just her face but her history, her pain, and her life.
What is happening?
She gasped, trembling uncontrollably.
What do you want from me?
The apparition smiled, a twisted, mocking grimace that chilled her to the core.
The guardian's hunger is insatiable, and so is yours. You feed it with fear, with longing. Just then, a horrific realization washed over her. If she faced the guardian, would it not just want her heart?
What if it sought her own dark desires instead? A deafening roar echoed through the chamber, a call from depths below, fueling the shadows into a furious whirl.
The whispers intensified, shrieking in a symphony of dread and despair. Lila! Lila!
They cried, a cacophony demanding her surrender. Her fight was just beginning, each breath a challenge as Lila stared into the abyss, the glaring truth washing over her like ice water.
But was she ready to confront what lived within her own soul?
The ground shook violently, and before she could regain her footing, the shadows lunged. Suddenly, the chamber dimmed, the frantic energy replaced by something heavier, more sinister.
You have awakened the guardian's true form, a voice whispered through the chaos. Now it's time to choose, your fear or your salvation. Was she prepared to face the darkness within and without?
As she teetered on the edge of hopelessness, a deafening clash echoed through the chamber, the guardian's laughter reverberating ominously, and in that heartbreaking moment, she knew some sacrifices would change everything, but at what cost? Lila's mind raced as she felt the shadows surge closer, hungry for her essence.
What is my fear?
She whispered, her throat tight.
The echoes of the guardian's laughter wrapped around her like a shroud, suffocating and inescapable.
The figure that had taunted her, the harbinger, faded back into the darkness, leaving her with nothing but the echoes of its chilling words. She stood there, trembling, heart pounding furiously against her ribcage. Fear, she murmured, as the chamber shifted around her once more. The strange energy pulsed beneath her feet, resonating with every frantic beat. Somehow, she knew, the guardian was awakening, and she was its prey. The altars flared brighter, casting grotesque shadows across the stone walls, which morphed into twisted faces, horrors of the past, manifestations of every moment where her heart had been weak. As she stepped closer, she saw them swirl into sharpened edges, forming a distinct image, her child, Sarah, bound by chains of night. The weight of despair crashed over her, an avalanche of guilt and love, stirring the shadows among her insides.
No!
Lila shouted, gripping the altar's cool stone edge with both hands.
I will not be a part of this.
But the air thickened. She could feel the guardian's pulse, like a second heartbeat, surrounding her. It craved fear, it feasted on sorrow. And there, rising above the altar, was the source, the guardian itself, a massive dark figure with tendrils of malevolence curling in and out of the dim light. Its eyes glowed like dying embers, piercing through the veil of darkness.
Feed it.
The whispers urged, drawing her attention back to the horrific image of Sarah.
What drives you to sacrifice?
Gritting her teeth, Lila fought against the tide of despair.
You don't control me.
She screamed into the abyss.
I choose my sacrifice, not you.
The Guardian's laughter transformed into a low growl, a warning that slithered through her veins, igniting the dormant fears lurking inside her. Visions of her failures, moments of neglect, the time she almost lost Sarah in a crowded mall, the nights when she had chosen her work over her childless cries, they all rushed back.
Each recollection laid bare, raw, and terror-laden. To offer fear? To feed this monstrosity with her worst memories? No.
She screamed again, desperate and defiant.
I'll offer you something else.
The shadows recoiled, swirling as if trapped in a tempest.
The Guardian lurched forward. What then?
Its voice twisted like nails on a chalkboard, urging her deeper into her choices. At that moment, an image flashed through her mind, her own reflection, full of scars and sorrows, tangible imperfections woven into the tapestry of her life.
I'll offer you my pain, she shouted,
feeling the certainty surge from her core, braver than ever, as she pulled forth every regret and every moment of unhappiness she had ever held inside.
The chamber shook.
The Guardian paused, its icy grip tightening, intrigued.
Pain, it echoed, challenging her resolve. Yes. She yelled, emboldened by her choice. Take it. Take it all.
With fierce determination, Lila unleashed the torrent of anguish, a whirlwind unleashed from within, every doubt and fault released into the air.
The darkness enveloped her tears, shadows danced eagerly, drawn to her vulnerability.
She could feel the balance shift, the Guardian's essence pulled back, intrigued yet frustrated.
But would it be enough? Could pain truly satisfy a being that craved fear?
The Guardian flickered in and out of visibility, a monstrous visage wrestling against the energy Lila offered.
Suffer, then. It roared.
Suffer for your worth. Everything around her grew louder, chaotic, as the ebb and flow of her emotions collided with the Guardian's power.
Lila clenched her fists, her soul aching. Had she made the right choice?
A deafening crash like thunder echoed as the altar erupted in blinding light, illuminating the chamber and casting away shadows, if only for a moment. But the darkness was already creeping back, hungry for more.
Will you ever escape this cycle of sacrifice? The Guardian
snarled, its eyes narrowing, intrigued by her turmoil.
With newfound resolve, Lila's heart raced faster, and she gasped at the spectral binding of energy forming.
She realized she hadn't simply fought the Guardian, she'd begun to uncover something inside herself, something that reached deeper than fear, the will to survive. But as the light faded, she felt the cold return, the chaos inside still raging.
What has to come? She thought.
The whispers rolled back in, filling her with dread once more.
You are not done here, Lila.
What remains to be sacrificed will test you further, and with that realization sinking deep into her chest, Lila braced herself, knowing she hadn't seen the worst yet.
The sacrifices were just beginning.
Lila steadied her breathing, a battle cry against the haunting voice of the Guardian echoing in her ears. The shadows inched closer, yearning for her light, like moths to a flame. Each heartbeat resonated ominously, reminding her of the peril she clung to.
Not today, she muttered, desperate for clarity.
The altar pulsed beneath her hands, almost alive, as she focused on her pain and offering that writhed within her. Pain is just a part of me, she whispered, forcing herself to confront the faint tendrils of fear creeping through her resolve.
Was it truly enough to quench this insatiable beast?
As if in response, the Guardian's growl vibrated through the chamber, unsettling the very stones.
Step forward, Lila, it beckoned, its voice smooth and serpentine, deliciously false. Show me the depths of your sacrifice.
A shiver ran down her spine as shadows writhed like snakes beneath her feet. She hesitated, but the image of Sarah, frozen in a moment of terror, flared before her eyes again. Chains of darkness tightened around her daughter, the sight twisted her heart like a vice.
What would she give to break those bonds? Mother, save me.
Sarah's voice echoed, threaded with crystalline tenderness and a chilling urgency. Lila screamed, "You will not take her."
I am not afraid of you.
The air thickened around her as she conjured the very essence of her resolve, a defiance sparked by love. She forced every failure, every fearful thought, to surface and coalesce into a tangible essence.
Take my love.
She roared into the abyss, feeling the warmth of her maternal heart flare within.
I give you my strength.
For a heartbeat, the shadows shrieked in fury.
The guardian reared back, its form flickering as if wrestling against a powerful tide.
The energy radiating from Lila grew fierce, a beam of light catching the corners of the chamber.
Love?
The guardian spat, the words dripping with disdain.
It is but a fleeting flame, and flames, Lila cut through its derision,
are capable of burning away shadows. With that proclamation, she hurled her memories into the fray, laughter during sunny mornings, nights spent reading stories, moments filled with pure joy.
Each cherished memory flared brightly, pushing back the encroaching dark.
Yet, the guardian twisted in response, its eyes ablaze with a hunger more profound. This is merely a distraction, it hissed, coiling its tendrils with growing fury.
Will you truly sacrifice your greatest joy? What would it cost?
A thrill of dread crushed her heart.
Could she bear that burden?
The warning clung to her like mist, every echo of her life vibrating with impending doom.
Lila!
The voice pulled at her again, sharp and urgent.
Help me! The sound of Sarah's plea ignited a primordial surge of survival instinct. You won't have her. You won't break me.
But the shadows began swirling chaotically, wild and frenzied, lashing out at her like living breath. They wove through her thoughts, each tendril grasping for weaknesses, trying to unearth her darkest secrets. Moments of vulnerability flashed before her, the times she felt unable to protect Sarah, the days when love felt like a burden. As each crack in her shield opened wider, she gasped, fighting the loss of her light.
No! I will not fear!
She cried, drawing everything she had. Suddenly, a haunting revelation washed over her with renewed clarity.
What if this was just the beginning?
What if love and pain together carried her through, not just as offerings but as strength? As she flung her emotions against the mighty darkness, a pulse surged through the air. It resonated within her, a realization both frightening and exhilarating. Just as she thought she gained a footing, a deafening roar erupted, shaking the chamber. Gales of shadow lashed out against her, drawing ever closer, a reminder of the cycle she had yet to break.
Will you sacrifice it all?
The guardian challenged as the room trembled.
Or will your heart fail you in the end? Lila's breath caught in her throat, realization crashing into her with the weight of 1,000 bricks. The danger was far from over.
This was only the tip of the iceberg. Behind the chilling whispers was something darker. Something that would test her beyond her wildest fears. She prepared herself as a monstrous silhouette coiled upwards, again merging with the darkness.
Would she stand firm, or would the growing dread consume her?
And deep within, a new question lurked, chilling her to the bone. What more would the guardian make her sacrifice before this night was through? The shadows surged, morphing into grotesque forms as if mocking her every effort.
Lila's heart raced, a relentless drum echoing in the vicious storm brewing around her.
She staggered back, gripping the altar tightly as the shadows roared loud enough to drown out her own resolve. They writhed within the chamber, taunting her with whispers only she could hear, weaving tales of despair. Lila, the guardian's voice slithered through the air, cold and calculated.
Every moment spent fighting is a moment taken from her. Time is not on your side.
Tendrils of darkness wrapped around her, constricting with an icy grip that left her gasping.
Sarah.
The name slipped through her lips like a desperate prayer.
I'll save you. Then, a flicker pierced the abyss.
A memory, her daughter's laugh, bright and untainted, ignited a spark of defiance inside her. You can have my pain, she shouted, struggling against the shadows that clawed at her sanity.
But you will not own my love.
In response, the guardian twisted violently, its shape morphing, revealing forms Lila could not comprehend. Each grotesque image beckoned her to despair, each one a reminder of a failure. She saw glimpses of her life, moments she'd rather forget, the nights spent crying while holding Sarah close, the feeling of inadequacy gnawing at her heart.
No!
She squeezed her eyes shut.
You can't take those from me.
As though sensing her wavering grip, the shadows surged forward, plunging deeper into her mind. It felt like icy knives piercing through her defenses, digging up secrets she had buried long ago.
Shame. Regret.
The unbearable weight of her choices. The Guardian's growl intensified, growing louder as it fed on her emotions, becoming more powerful with each fragment of vulnerability exposed.
Will you give them up?
It hissed, the room shaking as it loomed closer.
Will you trade your light for her safety?
A cold sweat dripped down Lila's back, the air thickening around her. She was faced with a choice, one that sent tremors of panic through her very being. Everything I've done for Sarah, the realization settled in her gut, a heavy stone.
What if that wasn't enough?
What if she truly couldn't save her? But then the image of Sarah's eyes pleading, lost fueled her fury. The shadows, twisted remnants of her memories, could not smother the truth.
I won't let you take her. Lila roared, channeling every ounce of her determination.
As she pushed back, summoning the radiant warmth of her love for Sarah, she felt a surge through her body.
The light expanded, crashing against the darkness like waves against a cliff.
A scream of rage erupted from the Guardian, the shadows fracturing away like glass shards.
But the darkness was relentless.
It recoiled, hissing, then regrouped, twisting into a wall of fury.
You think you know sacrifice? The Guardian spat, its eyes boiling with rage.
This has only just begun. In an instant, Lila's world spun, her heart plummeting as the altar trembled beneath her. The shadow surged forward again with renewed ferocity, almost laughing at her defiance.
Panic clawed at her throat.
She fought back, but with each moment, she felt the icy breath of despair creeping closer. Breathless and shaken, her mind raced.
Could she truly defy the Guardian?
Or was she merely postponing the inevitable? The shadows began to reconfigure, morphing into sinister shapes, revealing the heart of their dark power. A noise echoed, a faint crying sound, chillingly familiar.
It sliced through her confusion like a knife. Mommy, please. It was Sarah.
The sound twisted her heart, turning dread into a raw, unbearable panic.
Sarah!
Lila screamed, her voice laced with desperation, but just as she reached for the shadows to snatch Sarah back, they coiled tighter, twisting her body into position. Whispers surrounded her, wrapping her in a tapestry of fear.
Will you sacrifice everything? The Guardian reiterated, its voice sinister and smooth. Not just your love but the essence of who you are?
Lila's heart pounded wildly as she steeled herself. In this moment, she realized the true stakes were more
horrifying than she ever imagined. What would being consumed by this darkness truly mean? Would she still be herself, even if it meant saving Sarah?
As the shadow swirled into an agonizing cyclone, she pressed forward, growing uncertain of her mere humanity.
I can't lose you, Lila whispered shakily, but just before she could burst through the thick curtain of darkness, an unexpected voice interrupted her thoughts, echoing ominously from the shadows. You think you can fight me, little moth? I will show you what true sacrifice looks like. Panic surged within her, questioning everything she had ever stood for. Could this truly be the end?
What lay behind the veil of shadows, waiting to snatch her away? The question hung heavy in the air, a chilling invitation to despair that echoed through the haunting chamber.
What other horrors would the Guardian reveal next?
The shadows inhaled, thickening around Lila, suppressing her voice as if the darkness had its own design.
Each breath was labored, her chest tightening like a vice. The Guardian's ominous laughter echoed, its echoes sliding across her skin like icy fingers. What shall you give up, Lila? It taunted, its voice seeping into the marrow of her bones. You have so much to lose. In that moment, clarity struck her. The walls of despair pressed in, but within that suffocating closure, there was a glimmer of defiance. I won bargain, she spat, her voice wavering but holding firm. I refuse to let you take her. The shadows recoiled, hissing with laughter that scraped at the edges of her sanity. Defiance only strengthens my grip. Do you not see? Your love is a weak shield against the darkness. Sarah's cries echoed beneath the din, growing louder and more desperate. Mommy! Help me! Each plea twisted like a dagger in Lila's heart, driving her to push back against the shadows blocking her path. She envisioned her daughter's face not just in pain, but filled with hope,
thrilled to see her mother break through the gloom. In that second of clarity, the memories swelled. The countless times she spent reading bedtime stories, the silly dance routines in the living room. The warmth of shared moments now threatened to ignite a fire within her. "I will fight for her," Lila declared, pushing against the cold fingers of shadow, as fragments of light began to dance along her fingertips like ethereal sparks. As if sensing a shift, the Guardian's form quivered, tightening its grasp on her.
"Foolish woman!" it shrieked. "You underestimate me. Feel the depths of your sacrifice."
Suddenly, a bone-chilling sensation washed over Lila as shadows surged forth, merging into grotesque figures that loomed and growled. Each shape was a reflection of her fears, grotesque exaggerations of insecurity. They towered high, blocking her view and distorting the light, like a storm cloud consuming the sun. Her mind raced.
Were these forms merely illusions, or hid they the dark souls of those who failed before her? Was she destined to join them? No more.
She cried out, brandishing her memories like blades against her opponent. The air crackled around her, vibrating with energy born from fear and love alike.
"You will not take me."
As she fought, a singular image burst through the chaotic maelstrom. The day Sarah first said "I love you." The innocence of that precious moment surged into her heart, melding with the brightness that flared to life within. The darkness around her shrieked as it was struck by the brilliance of her love. The Guardian shrieked in fury, the shadows tearing apart like fragile paper caught in a blaze.
"Your love is a weapon," yes, it cried. "But love requires harmony. A sacrifice must be made." Lila felt a jolt as the shadows retreated just enough to reveal a flickering portal behind the altar, dim and foreboding.
She squinted through the abyss, sensing that beyond it lay the depths of her worst fears and truths. "One of you must surrender," the Guardian hissed, its voice blending with the shadows. "To save the other, something must be lost."
Lila's heart raced. Was this the final ultimatum? Was the Guardian offering her a chance to save Sarah at the cost of herself?
The weight of the choice bore down on her, threatening to drag her under.
"Mommy, please."
Sarah's voice rang clear, pulling her back to the moment, igniting a flame of resolve deep in her soul. But what if the cost was too great? Was she willing to let the darkness consume her? Could love truly overshadow despair, or was she destined to be trapped in the endless night along with her daughter? As the shadows began to shift once more, taking on forms that were familiar yet unrecognizable, a final question echoed within her, cold and haunting. Would you sacrifice yourself for love, or would you let the darkness win? In that split second, Lila knew the next choice she made could shatter everything she believed to be real. The portal pulsated, a dark glimpse into a chasm that seemed to breathe slow, ominous. Lila teetered on the brink, her resolve crumbling just as shadows twisted like serpents around her legs, anchoring her in place.
"Mommy!"
Sarah's voice was a wail now, panic-laden and piercing, slicing through the writhing shadows. Each call felt like a tightening noose, pulling Lila closer to the abyss, drowning in a fog of dread.
"What are you willing to give up?"
The Guardian's voice slithered around her, each syllable curling like smoke.
"Her for you? Or you for her? Either way, one of you will be consumed."
The notion clanged against her mind, a haunting chime of possibility.
Panic surged through her veins, red-hot and electric. "No!"
she screamed, the defiance reverberating off the cold altar.
"I refuse to choose."
For a brief moment, the shadows recoiled, giving her a flicker of space. But it was fleeting. Within the next heartbeat, they lunged forward, snapping like jaws of a beast hungry for flesh. Lila stumbled back, her pulse racing, the heat in her chest flaring to life. The Guardian's laughter echoed in a dizzying cacophony that wrapped around her like thick fog.
"You misunderstand, Lila," it cooed mockingly. "It's not about choice. It's about inevitability. You can't outrun the darkness.
You can't hide your heart from what it truly desires." Visions of Sarah flooded her mind, the sweet smile, curls bouncing as they danced, the warmth of sleepy cuddles. Memories clashed violently with the shadows that tried to drown them.
With a roar that shook the air, Lila summoned all her love into a singular, blazing thought: I would give my everything for her.
The shadows recoiled, hissing, the dark laughter faltering. Flickers of light shot up her arms, racing through her fingertips and burning brightly against the encroaching darkness. She could feel the chains binding Sarah snapping, the light battling the shadows in a luminous clash, but then the guardian twisted, its form shifting to a nightmarish visage of her own reflection, distorted and grotesque.
You think love can save you?
Your greatest fears are the very reality that binds you. Fear rocketed through her, clawing at her insides. That deformity her fears realized. A rotten whisper tightened around her heart, reminding her of failures, doubts, and every moment of hesitation.
What if you're not enough? It taunted. What if your love isn't enough? No!
Lila screamed, snapping back against the oppressive weight of despair.
I am enough. My love is powerful.
The surge of light expanded, brighter than she ever thought possible, brighter than the shadows that once formed her fears. She felt Sarah pull within her, the essence of her child fueling the flames of her fight. But just as the shadows began to collapse, the guardian lunged forward, its hand stretching toward the portal, summoning grotesque shapes from the depths.
You think you can defy me? I will never let the light stay.
In that final, frenzied moment, Lila was faced with the portal once more, a swirling mouth filled with darkness, but this time, scarier shadows started to emerge, terrified wails filling the air.
The faint outline of faces she recognized, shadows of souls lost to darkness and despair.
Those who had chosen to bargain. A shudder ran down her spine. They were echoing her own fears. All Lila knew was that time was slipping away, the darkness crowding in.
Mommy, please.
Sarah cried once more, her voice breaking through the chaos, pulling Lila back to the only thing that mattered.
Was she willing to fight for her childless freedom, even if it meant stepping into the very maw of terror? With her heart hammering in her chest, a chilling thought struck: if I must confront my darkness to save my light, what nightmare will I have to face to bring my daughter back?
And as she gathered her strength for the leap into the unknown, Lila realized one shattering truth: she had to enter the abyss, face her demons, or risk losing Sarah forever.
Could she survive the horrors waiting for her in that cursed realm?
Lila stood at the edge of the portal, the abyss swirling before her, a dark, gaping maw exhaling whispers of dread and despair. Time pulsed with urgency, her daughter's cries, sharp as glass, echoed in her ears.
Mommy, please.
Each plea struck her heart like a hammer, igniting a fire of fierce determination. The shadows danced hungrily around her, their forms quickening, reaching out with icy fingers. She felt the pressure of their weight, every breath constricting, a reminder of the crushing darkness that wanted to consume her light.
No! Lila clenched her fists, snarling defiantly.
I will not let you take her. With one last glance back at the altar, which now flickered with the remnants of her love and pain, Lila stepped forward. She plunged into the swirling vortex, feeling the cold wrap around her like chains. The sensation was suffocating, chilling darkness clung to her skin, enveloping her in a whirlwind of noise. As the shadows clawed and twisted, she allowed the fear to wash over her, integrating it into her desperate resolve. The moment she crossed over, the chamber exploded in blinding light, revealing a twisted landscape dotted with remnants of despair. It felt alive, breathing, pulsing with emotions that had long chained these lost souls in shadows that flickered like dying flames. And there, in the heart of this desolation, was Sarah, bound in chains forged from sorrow and neglect.
Sarah!
Lila screamed, her heart racing as she rushed forward, fueled by adrenaline. But the chains writhed, resisting her approach, pulsing with darkness that threatened to drown her hopes. Shadows surged, and chilling laughter filled the air, echoing her worst fears, reminding her of her perceived failures. Lila faltered for a heartbeat, doubt clawing at her insides.
What if I can't save her?
But suddenly, an ember of courage sparked within. She recalled the moments of laughter, of joy, the memories that shone through her darkness.
I won't let you down, Sarah. I will set you free.
The haunting whispers tried to weave their grip around her, urging her surrender. Yet, she pushed back, harnessing the memories of their shared love, pulling them tight against her heart.
Take my pain,
she cried, tossing it into the shadows swirling above.
Take my guilt. Take everything that burdens me.
The shadows roared back, twisting in a furious dance, momentarily taken aback by her defiance. They shrieked, recoiling from her pain, revealing a path between them. With newfound resolve, she grabbed the chains binding Sarah, her grip fierce.
I will break these.
Lila screamed, drawing strength from the pain she willingly offered up. It was a powerful, visceral act of love that struck through the darkness like lightning. The chains rattled, shuddering under her touch, the weight of despair slipping through her fingers.
Mommy! Please, help me! Sarah's voice was woven with fear, but Lila felt a radiant warmth bloom with each echo. It ignited her fight, restoking the fire within. She yanked on the chains with all her might, feeling the shadows press closer, nearly suffocating. But every moment was a step back into the light, a reminder of why she was here. As the chains began to shatter, the Guardian's laughter echoed, its form shifting into a monstrous visage, grotesquely reflecting Lila's deepest fears. You think you can win? Love will be your undoing.
It hissed, lunging forward, tendrils sprawling to ensnare Lila.
No!
Her defiance surged, her voice resonating with power. I refuse to be afraid of you. The moment she claimed her strength, the chamber shook violently. Light erupted around Sarah, illuminating the darkness with purity, breaking the chains at long last. With a resounding crack, the chains fell away from her daughter, and finally, Sarah was free.
Mommy!
She cried, collapsing forward into Lila's arms, warmth radiating between them as the light surged back to life. The Guardian howled in fury, its form collapsing into shadows, and with one last effort, Lila faced it down.
You will not take anyone else. You've had your fill. Every ounce of fear, anger,
and love surged through her, a wave of defiance that washed over the darkness, suffocating her, shattering the final barrier between the light and shadows. As the Guardian roared in agony, everything imploded, a cacophony of darkness and light battling fiercely until the shadows were escorted back, retreating into nothingness. The air cleared, the suffocating energy vanished, leaving behind a hush that felt both tranquil and alive. Sarah hugged her tightly, trembling yet finally free, and Lila felt tears spill over, tears of relief, of pain released, and of love reclaimed. You're safe now, she whispered, holding her closely as warmth enveloped them both. Stepping outside the chamber hand in hand, they emerged into a bright dawn breaking over Maplewood, the sun filtering through the trees, illuminating everything once coated in darkness. It felt like a fresh start. The streets grew vibrant again, laughter resonating as neighbors emerged from their homes, awakenings from a long sleep shadowing their hearts. Look! Sarah exclaimed, as a family nearby shared warm smiles and embraces. One by one, they began to reconnect, citizens of Maplewood liberated from the grasp of the Guardian's hold. Lila's heart swelled with hope. This was the moment they all could reclaim their lives, a promise of light prevailing over darkness. Hand in hand, Lila and Sarah strolled through the neighborhood, leaving the shadows behind. They were ready to share their story, to empower others to confront their fears and embrace the love waiting on the other side of darkness. Mom? Sarah's gaze sparkled with joy. We did it. Yes, we did, Lila replied, smiling down at her daughter, feeling braver than ever. She had faced the horror, conquered her fears, and reclaimed hope. Maplewood was more than just a place, it was home, a place where darkness could not prevail as long as they had each other, finally free. And as they walked, the sun shone bright above them, a tangible reminder that love and hope always find a way. Before saying goodbye, I need to ask you something important. You need to subscribe now. Click that bell and choose all notifications so you never miss a story like this again. Smash that like button now to help the algorithm reach even more people like you who crave thrilling tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions. What theories did you have? What did you think of this wild ride? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this conclusion in their lives. This is the moment to show your support. Your engagement means everything. Go, go, go.